Winter evenings come early in Munich. As snow began to accumulate on the cobblestones of the old town, Marcus Schultz gazed out of his office window. As the marketing director for an IT company, he had just finished another long day. In the photo frame on his desk was a smiling man, his father Friedrich, who had passed away 3 years ago. "Family comes before everything, Marcus." His father's words echoed in his ears. Marcus let out a deep sigh. Since his father's death, his relationship with his mother Gertrude and his younger sister Katerina had gradually grown cold. While Marcus appeared calm and caring on the outside, he possessed a strong will inside. That strength was sometimes misinterpreted as coldness by his family. Marcus turned off his computer and picked up his coat. He had planned to work late tonight, but suddenly felt the urge to go home. "I've sent over the documents for tomorrow's meeting," he called out to his young assistant. "You should head home, too. Your family must be waiting." Back at his apartment, Marcus went straight to the kitchen and poured himself a glass of single malt whiskey. His spacious apartment was furnished with simple yet sophisticated pieces. Photos from his travels around the world hung on the walls, but there were few family pictures. An envelope from his mother lay on the table. He picked it up and sat down on the sofa. Inside was an invitation to a party celebrating his sister, Katerina's husband, James's promotion. Marcus frowned. Not again. At these recent family gatherings, he always felt a subtle sense of alienation. Since her husband's death, his mother, Gertrude, had become increasingly dependent on her younger daughter, Katerina, while growing more distant from Marcus. Katerina had recently married James, and they had just purchased a home in an upscale neighborhood. The phone rang, and Marcus picked up his smartphone. The screen displayed, "Mom." "Good evening, Mom." "Marcus, did you get the invitation? We're having a lovely party at Katerina and James's new house. You'll be amazed when you see their home. To think they can afford such a beautiful house at their age. They're such smart kids." Marcus listened in silence. His mother didn't know that he had secretly been covering most of Katerina and James's mortgage. With his father's words, family comes before everything, close to his heart, and a desire to support his family, he had been providing financial assistance. "Yes, I got the invitation. I plan to attend." "Wonderful. But I thought you might not come since you always seem so busy." Marcus swallowed his words. His mother had always downplayed his career. "Marcus is always so cool and never shows emotions. It's like he looks down on us," his mother would tell others. But in reality, Marcus had sacrificed a lot for his family. "I'll definitely be there, Mom." After hanging up, Marcus took another sip of whiskey. Outside, the snow had begun to fall heavily. He looked at his father's photo and smiled slightly. "I'm following your advice, Dad. Family is important." What Marcus never told anyone was that he was putting a significant portion of his salary toward his sister and brother-in-law's mortgage each month. While Katerina and James were obsessed with portraying a perfect life on social media, it was actually Marcus who was supporting their lavish lifestyle. They would never know that. Still, Marcus decided to smile brightly. "Let's all gather at our lovely home for a party." Marcus reread Katerina's email. Attached were photos of their new home, a modern 2-story house with a well-maintained front yard, captioned, "Our dream home." Between meetings, Marcus was at a high-end department store selecting a gift for the party. A designer crystal vase. He thought it would perfectly match Katerina's new living room the moment he saw it. "Please wrap this," he told the clerk as he handed over his credit card. "Is this for a special occasion?" the clerk asked. "Yes, it's a housewarming gift for my sister." Marcus smiled. A new beginning in a new home. Those words held his wish to mend their relationship. For a long time, Marcus had felt an invisible wall between himself and his family. Since his father's death, that wall had only grown taller. But today was different. Somewhere in his heart, he hoped this day might be a turning point. Marcus left work early and returned home to get ready. He chose a wine-red suit for the special day, adorned with modest yet elegant accessories. Standing in front of the mirror, he saw the reflection of the man his father once called, "My beautiful and intelligent son." "Well, let's go." Taking a deep breath, he picked up the beautifully wrapped gift and headed to the upscale neighborhood in Munich's suburbs. The snow had already stopped, and though the air was clear, a cold wind brushed against his cheeks. Katerina and James's new home was in a quiet, upscale neighborhood. It was a noticeably prominent white two-story house with the path to the entrance neatly cleared of snow. As Marcus parked his car, he noticed several cars already there. Laughter and music could be heard from inside. Marcus got out of his car and walked toward the entrance with the gift in hand. In the street light, his figure looked dignified and handsome. As he approached the door, he could see the lights and shadows moving inside, and someone heading toward the entrance. Before the door opened, Marcus took one last deep breath. "Let's enjoy today," he told himself. When the door opened, Marcus was prepared to greet everyone with a warm smile. However, the person who greeted him was his mother, Gertrude. Her expression was different from what Marcus had expected. "Oh, Marcus," Gertrude said, sounding surprised. Then, she paused at the threshold and blocked the doorway. "I'm sorry, Marcus. This house is for family only, so you'll need to pay an entrance fee if you want to come in." A sarcastic smile appeared on his mother's face. Marcus was confused. "What are you talking about? Katerina invited me," he said, recalling the email invitation. Just then, Katerina appeared. She was wearing a kitchen apron and holding a wine glass. The sounds of laughter and conversation could be heard from behind her. "Marcus, you came," Katerina said brightly for a moment, but then exchanged glances with her mother and a mean smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. "But, like Mom said, just pay 10 euros. "Oh, that's right. You don't have money, do you?" "Ah." Marcus froze. This wasn't just a bad joke. In Katerina's eyes, there was an emotion that could be interpreted as either contempt or pity. As relatives and friends began to gather at the entrance and watched awkwardly, Marcus felt deeply humiliated. "What are you saying?" he asked quietly. His voice trembled slightly. "I was invited." "Of course," her mother interjected. "But you're always different from us, aren't you? A successful businessman. Surely you can afford an entrance fee." Marcus stood motionless. Despite secretly paying off his sister's mortgage every month, this was how he was being treated. He felt something breaking inside him. "Marcus always ruins our good times," Katerina said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Don't we deserve to be in a good mood today?" Her mother agreed. "You're always so rigid, and you can't even afford a nice house like this. You need to enjoy life a little." Marcus was at a loss for words. Anger and sadness swirled inside him. The relatives and friends around them had confused expressions on their faces. Some people couldn't hide their discomfort and were backing away. Tears welled up in Marcus's eyes, but he never let them fall. He had long been skilled at controlling his emotions. That coolness was his strength in the business world, but now it was his only defense. "Fine, you're right," Marcus said calmly. He placed the present on the doorstep and said, "This is a gift for you. I'm leaving now." Just as I thought. Marcus is always such a boring person, not suited for parties. His mother threw another hurtful comment. Marcus said nothing and walked back to his car with his back straight. As he started the engine, he felt something change within him. It wasn't just a feeling of humiliation, but a sensation of releasing emotions he had suppressed for years. When he got home, he sat on the sofa and thought deeply for a long time. Looking at his father's photo, he asked, "Dad, what does family really mean?" Then, he picked up his smartphone and opened his social media account. Normally, Marcus didn't post about private matters, but today was different. "Today, I was invited to my sister's housewarming party, but was asked to pay an entrance fee because I'm family. Ironically, I've been paying most of my sister's mortgage every month. What is family?" he posted. As he pressed the send button, Marcus let out a deep sigh. Marcus's social media post began to create ripples beyond what he could have imagined. He was usually someone who rarely posted anything other than work-related content. Most of his followers were colleagues and industry acquaintances, and there weren't many of them. However, his words that night seemed to resonate strongly with many people. The next morning, Marcus woke up to the notification sound on his smartphone. Normally, he would have already returned from jogging and finished breakfast by this time, but last night, he couldn't sleep for a long time after posting. He rubbed his sleepy eyes and checked the notifications. Then, he jumped up in surprise. His post had received hundreds of comments and thousands of likes. This was unprecedented for his account. Comments kept coming in, with many people starting to share their own complicated family relationships. Marcus sat down on his bed. He never thought his personal expression of feelings would resonate with so many people. For a moment, he considered deleting the post, but he was moved to see how many people related to his experience and felt encouraged by it. This had become more than just his personal issue. While making coffee in the kitchen, Marcus was deep in thought. He had always been someone who made calm and rational judgments. He rarely acted on emotion, but last night's events seemed to have changed something in him. "Enough is enough," he told himself. "I don't need to sacrifice myself anymore." After taking a sip of coffee, he made a decision. Today, he would go to the bank and stop the payments on his sister's mortgage. His father's teaching to cherish family surely didn't mean continuing to hurt himself. Before heading to the office, Marcus stopped by his local bank branch. He completed the procedure to stop the regular transfers he had been making. "Just to confirm, Mr. Schultz, you're completely stopping the monthly transfers you've been making?" The bank teller double-checked. "Yes," Marcus answered quietly but firmly. "Enough is enough. It's time to prioritize my own life." When he left the bank, Marcus felt as if his body had become lighter. It was a feeling of liberation. For a long time, he had been caught between family expectations and his own conscience. Now he had taken the first step toward reclaiming his life. When he arrived at the office, he noticed his colleagues looking at him differently than usual. It seemed his post had already been seen by many people. But Marcus focused on his work as usual. Only today his heart felt strangely lighter. During lunch, his assistant Jessica approached his desk. "Marcus, I saw your post," she said quietly. "I've had similar experiences. Thank you for giving me courage." Marcus smiled. He hadn't thought his words could empower others. That was an unexpected byproduct. Late in the afternoon, he received an angry call from Katharina. "What have you done?" Katharina shouted. "Your post has been shared everywhere, and our reputation is ruined. All the neighbors are seeing it." Marcus responded calmly, "Katharina, I was just expressing my feelings." "But you didn't mention any names," Katharina argued. "No one should be able to identify us." Local people can probably figure it out, Marcus said. And there's one more thing I need to tell you. I've been paying your mortgage all this time, but today I stopped those payments. On the other end of the line, Katharina gasped. What? You're joking, right? I'm not joking. Marcus's voice was quiet but strong. Think about how you treated me yesterday, and ask yourself, if I really had been paying your mortgage, how have you been treating me? Wait, Marcus, we didn't know. There was fear in Katharina's voice for the first time. You mean, you really... I've been silent for a long time, Marcus continued. To honor Dad's words, cherish your family. But cherishing family and being exploited are two different things. After hanging up, Marcus gazed out the office window. Snow had begun to fall again. He felt that he had entered a new phase in his life. Meanwhile, Katharina and her mother were facing another problem. They had received a notice from the bank. We cannot confirm your mortgage payment. Please contact us urgently. Katharina and James panicked. They couldn't actually afford the high mortgage payments, but they had been relying on someone making monthly deposits. And now, for the first time through Marcus's words, they learned that that someone was him. What should we do, James? We'll lose the house. Katharina broke down in tears. James was confused. But who would pay such a large amount? Marcus, that plain, rigid brother. He really meant it. Katharina trembled as she remembered Marcus's words. We didn't know. But that was a lie. Katharina had vaguely suspected it. The mysterious support that was deposited regularly each month, but she didn't want to admit it was from Marcus. She and James had taken out a high mortgage to keep up appearances, and they had come to depend on that mysterious support to escape the pressure of repayment. Marcus's social media posts spread further and were even picked up by local news sites. It became an article with the headline, "What are family bonds? Family issues trending on social media." Marcus's real name wasn't mentioned, but from the description, his family knew who it was about. The next evening, when Marcus returned from work, he saw a surprising sight. A bouquet of flowers had been placed in front of his apartment. The attached card read, "Thank you for your courage." The sender was anonymous, but similar gifts and letters started arriving at his office and home afterwards. On the third morning after Marcus's post, he received a call from a community center. It was an offer. Would you share your experience at our workshop on family relationships and communication? As he was considering how to respond, an urgent news alert came in on his cell phone. The headline on the local news site was shocking. Young couple faces foreclosure due to unpaid mortgage. Family issues on social media become reality. The photo showed people gathered in front of Katharina and James's house. Marcus's heart raced. What was happening? He quickly got into his car and headed to his sister's house. When Marcus parked, an unbelievable scene unfolded before his eyes. 20 or 30 people had gathered in front of Katharina and James's house. They stood quietly in line, some holding handmade signs with messages like "Seeking honesty in family relationships" and "Against financial abuse." Among the people were familiar faces who volunteered at the local community center, and surprisingly, a reporter from the local TV station was about to start coverage. Even more surprising was that several people in bank uniforms were discussing something in front of the house, documents in hand. Marcus carefully got out of his car and began walking through the crowd. When people noticed him, they made way. Some nodded slightly to him. One woman quietly said, "Thank you for your courage." Amid the confusion, Marcus moved forward and finally reached his sister's front door. At that moment, the door opened, and Katharina and their mother Gertrude appeared. Both had pale faces and expressions mixed with fear and anger. "What's going on?" her mother asked in a trembling voice. Her eyes scanned the crowd and finally focused on Marcus. Is this the commotion you brought? The bank officer stepped forward and explained, Ms. Muller, your mortgage payment is overdue. If you don't address this promptly, we'll have to begin foreclosure proceedings. Katerina, with a tearful face, shouted, What are you doing here? To humiliate us more. Marcus answered calmly, No. I came to talk. His mother looked at the people around them and blushed with embarrassment. Making us feel so ashamed. Are you really family? From the crowd, an elderly woman stepped forward. She was one of the first people to comment on Marcus's social media post. I, too, once experienced betrayal by family, she said quietly. But when the truth comes to light, sometimes it creates an opportunity to repair relationships. Sounds of agreement rose from the crowd. It was clear that this event had evolved from a mere family dispute into a theme of what are family bonds that many people could relate to. Marcus took a deep breath. May I come inside the family? I want to talk. Katerina and her mother exchanged glances and reluctantly nodded. The three of them entered the house and headed to the living room. The spacious living room, decorated with luxurious furniture, was an ironic place for Marcus. How much money had he invested to create this space? I've been thinking about what family means, Marcus began quietly. Dad taught us to cherish family. That's why I've been silently supporting you financially. But that wasn't the true picture of family, was it? Katerina was confused. What are you saying? That you've been supporting us? Marcus took out his smartphone and showed her bank transaction history. There was a record of him transferring large sums to Katerina's mortgage every month for the past 2 years. This is... Katerina was at a loss for words. For the first time, a look of shame appeared in her eyes. You didn't really not know, did you? Marcus said in a gentle but firm voice. You must have known that without support from someone, you couldn't pay the mortgage on a house like this. James entered the room. His face was pale, and the bank notice in his hand was shaking. Marcus, was it really you? Why? Since Dad passed away, I've lived with his words in my heart, Marcus answered. I thought it was my responsibility to support the family, but now I understand that one-sided support isn't the true bond of family. His mother, Gertrude, began to cry. Since Friedrich died, I felt like I had lost everything, she confessed. It was painful to look at you, Marcus, because you resembled him. These words sent something through Marcus's heart. He had never understood why his mother alienated him, but now he knew it was because of his resemblance to his father. It was painful for his mother to see a son who reminded her of her husband. Mom? Marcus approached and took Gertrude's hand. Dad loved all of us. He wanted us to support each other. But for that support, honesty is necessary. Katerina also began to cry. We didn't know. No, we pretended not to notice. We knew our income wasn't enough to live in a house like this. But mysteriously, we could make the payments every month. Why didn't you tell us? James asked. For the first time, there was sincerity in his voice. Marcus answered quietly. I thought it would make you happy. But I was wrong. Family needs respect and understanding, not money. The three of them were silent for a long time. Then, for the first time, Katerina said in a sincere voice, That day, at the door. I'm really sorry for saying those things. We were terrible. Her mother nodded. Me too. I didn't mean to hurt you. Maybe I was just jealous seeing you succeed. Marcus was surprised by those words. It was the first time his mother had acknowledged his success. "Let's be honest with each other from now on," Marcus suggested, "and let's each learn to stand on our own feet." Outside, people were still gathered in front of the house. The bank officers were still waiting. When the three returned to the entrance, a quiet expectation ran through the crowd. Marcus stepped forward and began speaking calmly. "A dialogue with the family has begun. This is our problem, but at the same time, it's a microcosm of family issues that many people face. I believe that with sincerity and dialogue, any relationship can be mended." At his words, quiet applause arose from the gathered people. Marcus also approached the bank officer and said in a low voice, "I'll come to the branch tomorrow. I'd like to discuss this month's payment." Katerina looked at Marcus and expressed genuine gratitude for the first time. "Thank you, but it's time for us to stand up on our own." Their mother, Gertrude, also approached her children and took their hands. "If Friedrich were watching, he would tell us not to embarrass ourselves." She smiled. "From now on, let's be a real family." The gathered people began to disperse slowly. Marcus still couldn't believe it. An event that started with just one post was fundamentally changing family relationships. As he was leaving, that elderly woman approached Marcus again. "Your courage is influencing many people," she said quietly. "Sometimes speaking the truth can be the greatest form of love." Marcus nodded at those words. By expressing feelings he had suppressed for a long time, he had taken the first step toward building a true family bond. 6 months later, in the suburbs of Munich. On a weekend in early autumn, as the leaves began to change color, Marcus sat at a terraced table of a small cafe. Across the table was his mother Gertrude, along with her new friend Eleanor, a woman she had met through volunteer activities at the regional senior center. "This tea is really delicious," Gertrude said contentedly. She had changed remarkably over the past 6 months. Her hairstyle and clothes had become more youthful, and a lively light had returned to her eyes. "Marcus, thanks to you, I've found a new life," she thanked Marcus. The Schultz family had changed significantly. Katerina and James had given up their luxurious house and moved to a smaller home that matched their income. They had learned to prioritize financial independence over a luxurious lifestyle. "I've stopped keeping up appearances," Katerina had told Marcus at lunch last week. "True happiness is finding contentment within your means." Incredibly, Katerina was now taking financial management classes at a community college, and her relationship with James seemed to have deepened. They had initially struggled financially, but gradually that strengthened their bond. "You know, Marcus," Gertrude said as she put down her cup, "I heard you're the speaker for next week's workshop on rebuilding family bonds." Marcus nodded. Inspired by his social media post, workshops to improve family relationships were now regularly held in the area. Marcus occasionally shared his experiences there. "Family issues are complex, but with honest dialogue, there's a chance to repair relationships," was the message he conveyed to participants. Marcus himself had changed too. He had become more candid in expressing his feelings and had established healthier boundaries both at work and in his private life. He no longer shouldered everything alone as he used to. After leaving the cafe, Marcus headed to a nearby park. Sitting on a bench, feeling the autumn breeze, he opened a photo of his father on his phone. "Dad, we took the long way around, but we've finally become a real family," he whispered softly. Marcus's social media post had evolved from a mere expression of anger into a catalyst that made many people consider the meaning of family. His words, "Sometimes speaking the truth can be the greatest form of love," resonated with many hearts. As the day began to fade, Marcus stood up. Tonight, a family dinner was scheduled at Katharina and James's new home. Though small and modest, it contained a genuine warmth that wasn't about appearances or pretense. He took a deep breath and looked up at the sky. His relationship with his family wasn't perfect, and they would likely face various challenges in the future. But now, they had a solid foundation of mutual respect and honest confrontation. A true family. Marcus smiled. It might have been a bit different from what his father had envisioned, but its essence, understanding and supporting each other, was surely what he had been trying to teach. Marcus left the park and headed to the dinner party with a peaceful heart, as a member of his renewed family.